Kaboom!
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the AIB Show. I'm Amit.
I'm Dominic.
And this episode, we're going to come at you guys with something a little more, with lighthearted topics. Take that back. Lighthearted categories, but the topic's not so light. Yeah, does that make sense?
I guess. Yeah.
Sports and entertainment, man. We're talking about sports and entertainment.
Yes,
All
as
right.
relates to a lot of the BS going on.
Correct. So, yeah, there's some stuff going on, and we want to touch base on it. So we're going to go down a little list of stuff here, and we're going to start with Mark Cuban.
Yeah, so evidently he had stopped the Dallas Mavericks. He's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA. Mm-hmm. They had stopped playing the national anthem at some point last year. I think last November.
Mm-hmm. It was that long, right? Yeah, because they hadn't done all season.
And it all of a sudden caught fire, this news.
I'm amazed Trump let it last this long.
True.
You know?
So about 2 weeks ago, I'd say word started spreading that he had stopped that. Now, his reasoning for it was he explained something to the effect that, he's always stood for the national anthem, hand over his heart every single time it's played. However, a lot of his organization, members of his organization, don't feel the same way, and that the anthem does not represent them. And of course, much of the country feels that same way. So his belief was he didn't need to force it on people.
I mean, it seems fairly logical. Not only that, but we started doing that. We, meaning the country, started doing the national anthem before games. That wasn't the go-to. That became a thing.
No, that became a thing where the NFL was paid by the military.
Correct.
For forced patriotism,
right.
Which is, as if the national anthem and the flag belong to the military. It doesn't belong to officers or military or firemen any more than it belongs to the garbage man or the business owner or the McDonald's employee. It's all the same. If you're American, no matter what, you're not more American because you have a certain job. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? So that's why it's really comical where you would have, and sorry, there's background noise because there's a dog that's just going crazy. But that's why it's very funny to me where you see this and it was like, all right, hold up. Now, like it was never part of the situation. Then we gave it, then it became a part. So now we feel that it has to be this way forever, even though sports and patriotism have zero to do with each other. I mean, in essence, the NBA, the NBA, we play against Canada. Sure, fine. The NFL, they're all American teams anyway. Like, what the hell does it matter?
We've been indoctrinated into believing that there is a, natural cohesion with sports and patriotism.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the flyover. I think it's really dope because I just like planes doing that. It's pretty awesome. But does it...
Top Gun over here.
Yeah. But does it matter? Like legit? No. It doesn't matter at all. But that's the thing. So Mark Cuban said no. Then the NBA came out. Well, Mark Cuban said no again a while ago, right? And nobody cared. And then somebody had to go bring this to everybody's attention. And then Mark Cuban the NBA then came out with a rule on the 10th of February saying that all teams must play the national anthem. So Mark Cuban acquiesced. And on the 11th, which I guess was their next game, he did play the national anthem. So that's kind of like it went in. It's a foolish thing to stand for because it doesn't.
No pun
really
intended.
Well played. But yeah, so that's kind of where that one went.
So Cuban, somebody tweeted, I'm so ready to be in on this year's Mavericks home stretch. So much promise, so much personality. But the minute one player kneels during the anthem, I am out. Cuban responded quite succinctly, simply, bye. And then, Ted Cruz.
That guy. First of all, have you seen that dude's haircut?
No.
Are you serious?
Is it a new haircut?
Bruv, he's got a mullet, like a legit mullet. He's got the side of his head shaved and the back long, like party in the back. And
I'm kind of respecting that.
No, it's not. It's like the full side, like a mohawk status. It's just the side. It is the most ridiculous look ever, right?
He probably uses a Flowbee. Remember that 80s, the vacuum haircut and thing?
Bruh, it looks ridiculous. I mean, he looks ridiculous to start with,
So he tweets about this. Really? NBA is telling everyone who stands for the flag, who honors our cops and our veterans to piss off. This, meaning his tweet and this ideology, is the foolishness that's widespread in this country. Because think about what he said again. disrespecting the anthem and the flag disrespects our cops and our veterans, which couldn't be more false.
But not only that, but he's totally fine with people killing cops in the Capitol. That's okay, apparently. I mean, apparently that's cool, right? According to Ted Cruz, he's like, hey, Trump, you're good, my dude. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He literally told Trump's lawyers, you only need X amount of votes. You're good. You don't have to do anything, because Trump's lawyers were idiots, plain and simple. And Ted Cruz was like, nah, you're good. He literally spoke to them and said, you're good.
Violence doesn't disrespect cops.
No, obviously not.
No, it's
if black people do it, it does.
Yeah,
What's wrong with you, man? Did you not see what happened last summer?
True.
So much disrespect to the cops.
And also, disrespecting.
That was sarcasm, by the way, for those who didn't realize.
All of a sudden, you're gonna get fired.
I know, man. People are trying to cancel me when I have a show.
Unknown little guy sparks controversy.
Yeah.
So Cuban actually tweeted back to Ted Cruz, just said, "Have some balls for once. Speak to me."
Ted Cruz is just the worst.
So yeah, this actually grinds my gears. You know,
tell him, Peter.
Yeah, Peter Griffin, Family Guy. That was a segment he had where people do this foolishness and conflate the flag with, disrespecting, or if you disrespect the flag, you're disrespecting veterans and cops. No, you know what disrespects veterans? Sending them to unjust wars like we always do. Having crappy medical assistance for them when they're back. Not caring about them when we see them homeless on street corners. How often do we think, oh, wow, I wonder how they got there. I wonder what the government did and put them in this situation. No, we may give them $1 or we may ignore them. That's just disrespect to veterans.
How about being okay with Russia kind of targeting and trying to assassinate our veterans? And be like,
supposedly.
Man, no, I mean, Trump said he talked to Putin. He said no. And he goes, my bad. The dude said he didn't do it. I'm good. I talked to him. Yeah. I mean, if you talk to the man, he said he didn't do it. Obviously, he didn't do it. This is how things work.
Mindy, let's go back to the fact this all kind of started up with Kaepernick. Remember, he was sitting at first.
He was sitting.
He was sitting until a veteran suggested to him that people could take it as disrespect and you may want to consider kneeling. So he listened, said, I didn't want to offend anyone. That's missing the point, and started kneeling and disrespecting the flag, disrespecting the military. The military, do they have a patent on the flag? USPTO.gov. Somebody check that out for me. I mean, is there a trainer? I mean, no. That flag is just as much any other citizen, including, guess what? People in jail and prison. They're just as American. Anybody. The police don't own the flag. You know the police have that back the blue flag, right? That's
that's true. They do.
Yeah, that's their flag.
Yeah,
the American flag is not their flag. So stop the foolishness.
That's true. Well, and to double down on it, so the Dallas Mavericks obviously play in Texas, and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick of Texas announces the Star-Spangled, quote-unquote, Star-Spangled Banner Protection Act. In essence, this act is an act that he's proposing that will require that the national anthem, quote, is played at all events which receive public funding. So this is what he's trying to put across, because again, the disrespect of Cuban, right? Now, by the way, I think I say this with fact. If Cuban were to donate to this dude, none of this would be a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are just trying to find things to be angry about. And this is the current one because there are many Trumpians out there, and this is the situation that they want to back, which doesn't make any sense. Like, it's, again, to your point, there's no actual disrespect here.
There is none. And it doesn't make you a patriot, your love of this flag. Shannon Sharpe, the Hall of Fame tight end, NFL tight end, who's also a host of his own show with Skip Bayless on Fox Sports.
That's true. So Shannon had a quote, and we'll just play it for her, a statement. I'll play it for you.
Skip, we got to stop with this notion that gestures and symbols is a form of patriotism. Actions, deeds make you a patriot. Just because you fly the flag over your house doesn't make you a patriot. Just because you drink Budweiser doesn't make you a patriot. I'm sure those people that went up on January the 6th, Skip, on the Capitol, I'm sure they consider themselves patriots. And some of those guys were police officers, men and women. Some were in the military, men and women. That doesn't make you a patriot.
See? I mean, the Budweiser part is wrong. That does make you a patriot. They even have America on the Budweiser cans. Well played, ABI. But yeah, this is a thing where we're all, we to your point, we're conflating one after the other. It's like, hey, this is all part of the same situation. Therefore, you are not a patriot. if you don't play the anthem, if you don't stand for the anthem, and then if you try to say, okay, well, I'm going to do it, and then hold up, but now.
But
again,
this is kind of... All right, go on.
No, I was saying out of sight, out of mind. Were there teams this year or even last year that just stayed in the locker room? But we're cool with that. So we have no idea what's going on. But we're okay. So it's literally if you can't see it, is what it comes down to?
But it's also forced patriotism,
Valid.
which is kind of the antithesis of everything we're supposedly built on in America.
Hold up. So we're not a socialist / communist country?
We're pseudo-forcing people to do this.
What?
Right. But no.
In America? You're being forced to do things that you didn't want to do?
Yeah, the hypocrisy. Who would have thought?
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, and what's also pseudo-annoying to me is that now because of what's happened with everything, now you have people giving Kaepernick credit, quote unquote, which is, I mean, it's stupid and it's ill-placed and it's almost self-serving, right? And again, there's many of them, so I'm sure some of them are nice people or whatever, and it's not self-serving. But to the point where you shun the man, did whatever, right? Like Roger Goodell himself, that dude, man. Like now they're gonna say, you know what, Kaepernick was right. We all knew he was right. It was a whole thing, and he bowed to the pressures, right? And a man who's as powerful as he is bowed to the pressure, where you could see the dude wasn't doing anything that should have cost him his job. And every team who turned him down as well, as a complicit, man. So don't come at me now going, oh, we're doing things good now. We're gonna support the team. We'll stay in the locker room, do whatever they want as a collective. Come on, man. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anybody who is a player of the NFL, whatever, should leave said team or whatever else, because you got to get your money. I get that. I'm just saying that these people trying to claim holier than thou are just a bunch of, I mean, it's obvious lies. It's obvious. I mean, common sense. And again, it was obvious that Trump caused this whole situation, but he got acquitted. So again, I don't know what works in this country anymore. My bad.
Here's something that's, speaking of Trump and works and doesn't work. Tom Brady.
This dude, TB12.
He's actually transformed into seemingly a lovable personality because he was kind of a polarizing guy. In New England, you love him. I mean, obsessed with him. Right? But many other parts of the country were just annoyed by him. He seemed to...
He's a robot.
Yes.
He's a robot.
Too fake, but that's a better description. He's a robot. But now he came down here. He's drunk last week. He's...
Which, by the way, do you, Tom? I'm not knocking the drunk, man. Go have a good time with it. Go truck the trophy. Have a good time, bro. You do you.
But what is interesting is, you may recall Drew Brees lost his locker room. He's the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints.
Was.
Well, I don't know if he's officially retired.
Okay, my bad. Moving on.
When he mentioned, he had some comments about the flag.
I do remember his specific comments weren't that aggressive. Weren't
It basically said because of his grandfather who fought in the war.
It was his point of view, yeah.
But then the other players were like, well, black players were their forefathers fought in the war. They came back and were shunned by society and weren't given the GI benefits, such as being able to own a home and home ownership. So it started a downward progression from which it was hard to climb out of. And Drew Brees was using the war as the justification for why you should honor that with, not having the enlightenment to realize, that was only a certain segment of the population. Anyway, he damn
near lost his job.
Yeah.
So close to it. Like, he lost the locker room to Don's point earlier. He was going through all kind of stuff. And just trying to maintain, credibility is not the right word, but to maintain his locker room, he had to go through a myriad of things, an apology tour and the whole nine, right? Because apparently we love the apology tour, because when somebody says, I'm sorry, we're good to go. We let it slide. Whatever you meant, did, etc. And again, I'm not using Drew Brees in scenario. I'm talking general. But dude got all the stuff, minding TB12, hanging out with Trump, chilling with Trump, doing all the good stuff, whatever. Nothing sticks to this guy. This guy is as Teflon as Trump, right? Which is crazy.
It's crazy because there's a, we're in this cancel culture environment, which that's a whole other issue where we're too hypersensitive to everything. But for many people, right, the Trump association is, and often understandably, a problem. But somehow, this individual skirted it.
Like nobody cares. His team members, again, his teammates say, obviously that he's a good. And again, I don't know, dude. I don't know dude's politics. But I'm saying if you're going to affiliate yourself with Trump, generally speaking, that does not bode well for somebody in the public eye, unless Unless,
Some
well,
of the
and
public
take that
eye,
back. Yeah, I take that back. Half the population will love you, half the population will hate you. But in this situation,
it's been neither.
Yeah,
It's
he's
been
just
neutral.
fine. Everybody's like, we're good with him, no matter which side you fall on, which is amazing to me. This guy is just Teflon. And he's out here he's promoting up the TB12 thing. Pretty awesome. So I guess good for you.
You got anything else in sports?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Going on now to entertainment. So on a positive thing, which is also very interesting to me, the Obamas have a production company called High Ground Production. And Michelle Obama actually has her first show out on Netflix. They signed a huge deal with Netflix for like 4 films and 4 series, et cetera, which is massive. And she's doing like a Muppet type show where she is cooking, doing like healthy food and stuff like that with the Muppets for obviously, directed to kids, which is something that she's been pushing, meaning the health food aspect, from when she was the first lady for 8 years, and it's continuing that path. So they're doing some good things on that side too.
Speaking of Muppet, random thought, Muppets. Remember the show in Jamaica was like Muppets? I mean, they probably had it in America. I never saw Muppets.
What, Fraggle Rock?
Yes.
That's not a Jamaican show, dog.
I know it's
That's
not a Jamaican
American.
show. I know, but it's like, that's all I don't remember. Did you watch Muppets as a kid?
Yeah, well, I mean, Fraggle Rock more, but yeah,
Yeah.
I watched Muppets as a kid.
right,
No,
anyway.
Fraggle Rock is an American show,
No, I didn't
guy.
think it was made in like Kingston.
I mean, we had Lime Tree Lane, though. We didn't have an actual show. We didn't have a budget for a Fraggle Rock if we
Into the
wanted.
dojo.
But then to Don's point earlier regarding to the Uber sensitivity, right? So then you have Gina Carano.
Former MMA fighter.
I think she's actually dating or married to Superman, Henry Cavill, and was most recently in The Mandalorian, a show that I think is mediocre at best, but people seem to love it. I think it's shot really well. I think the storylines are blah, personally. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so that's Mandalorian is a Disney Lucasfilm situation. She had put out a bunch of tweets that were not favorable or not in the best, not deemed appropriate by the Disney company at that point. And then the most recent tweet, which is and she'd done some other things as well, don't get me wrong. So people always said that she was on the cutting block one way or the other for a bunch of jobs. She's had this issue throughout her career. But one of the things that she said most recently was, quote unquote, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history's edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? So
if you just read it quickly, it sounds like she was defending Nazis. That's the problem at the beginning.
Correct.
Right? Jews,
Correct.
like Nazis didn't do it. It was the people. That dig deeper into the context, what she's saying was actually kind of makes sense.
I mean, and there's other tweets.
Then came the horror of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Right? And the slaughtering of millions of people. But prior to that was the ideologies permeating the streets. And she's
she's
compared
to where we're in right now, right?
Even though she has different ideologies than me and Amit.
You forget my name for a second?
Yeah, I didn't know if I was going puff or, I don't know.
So, I mean, she had some other tweets regarding freedom of choice, et cetera. Quote, expecting everyone you encounter to agree with every belief or view you hold is effing wild. But she also came out under claims that, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. But with that being, both of those things, by the way, I agree on. Yeah. I don't think he killed himself.
So the thing is, we have vastly different beliefs than she does. Clearly, she's the opposite end of the spectrum. That being said, I don't think she should have been fired.
Yes.
I think it was a convenient way
for Disney to get out of this.
For Disney, yeah. But perhaps Disney also felt this was a fireable offense.
No, because Disney's had this
in the way cancel culture. That kind of is a fireable thing.
See, I think this falls into the sports dynamic as well. Meaning, it depends on your here's what you bring to the team, right? If you're Tom Brady, I'm gonna let this slide and say, hey, we had a conversation, all worked out well. If you're the receiver that I could swap out for somebody else, you're gone.
A bigger star,
right? So she's disposable. Right? Now, don't get me wrong. And not only that, but to my point earlier, she'd had previous texts and tweets, tweets, et cetera, or public statements that would have been not in line with Disney's comfort or whatever, and they were fine then. You know what I'm saying? Again, I find these things very, very convenient. And as Don mentioned, what she stands for, I do not. However, the actual tweet, I think, is ridiculous. Actually, ridiculous, strong word. I just think it's a bit. I think it's a bit convenient for some of you to piggyback on this personally, based on the fact that she's saying, in essence, if I make you hate your neighbors, then we can, in essence, we will hate each other. You know, that's a very simplistic way to put it, which is kind of true. You know, but on the positive side for her, a company called the Daily Wire, quote unquote, the Daily Wire is helping make one of my dreams come true, to develop and produce my own film. I cried out and my prayer was answered. So Carano, in essence, so she's getting this. So, and then she goes on to say, this was all written by the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire is a company that's actually going to fund her next film. And so that all came out of this situation. So she goes, I'm sending out a direct message of hope to everyone living in fear of cancellation by the totalitarian mob. It's a very Trump word. Anyway, I've only just begun using my voice, which is now freer than ever before, and I hope to inspire others to do the same. They can't cancel us if we don't let them. Now, so the dude who owns the Daily Mob, I'm forgetting his name right. Daily Wire. Sorry, forgetting his name right now.
Is it Ben Shapiro?
Yeah, it is. Good call.
He just moved to Boca. He lives like a few minutes from me.
So
I'm far from the mic. He just moved to Boca. Ben Shapiro.
So Trump and Ben Shapiro are now neighbors, and you're neighbors with them. Good Lord, man, Florida. So it's him. So he's the one funding the film. So he's giving her a creative outlet. What I'm curious to see,
what's interesting is Ben Shapiro.
Okay.
Is Jewish. See?
Yeah. No, but this point again. So when people talk about
that statement, you know, clearly he has no issue with that statement, and he's very proudly Jewish. So clearly he has no issue with that statement.
But also he is uber right wing. Yes. So clearly this gives him some props, because once she's got the voice, take that back. She's got the angry mob on who are like-minded will now support her. So for him, on a financial aspect, this is huge, because you can piggyback this into a film and get some money and some viewers and stuff like that overall. Because even your boy Ted Cruz chimed in about this as well. Because obviously this guy can't shut up about anything except when Trump orders people to go and kill police officers in the Capitol. Then my bad. Let that slide. Friggin' hate this dude, man. I dislike this guy, man. He's the worst.
Speaking of capitalizing off of
hardship, anything, whatever.
Not a hardship, the opposite.
Oh, okay.
Morgan Wallen.
Yes.
Country singer I never heard of, but evidently a notable country singer.
Yeah, me. And so apparently, again, I'm ignorant to the country music, so please understand that I don't know what I'm talking about here as far as his fame. But apparently, Doodle's on the up and up.
And
like, he was like the next big thing.
There was a video, I actually saw it, of him using the N-word. And, there's speculation his career is going to crash because of it. And this.
Well, he lost his label.
He lost his label.
And he lost his label.
But
he lost
record sales have gone
it was like
through
1,000%.
the roof.
It's crazy. But how does that work? When you lose your label, so don't they stop distributing your product? How does that even work?
No, because why would the label want to stop making money?
But if you lose your label, what does that say for future products? I don't understand how losing your label. What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Okay.
Dan Solomito, hit us up. Let us know. I have no idea. But yeah, we're just. No shocker there. the people who like country music are like, this guy used the N-word, support him.
But
let's keep going.
But also, okay, now for those who I saw the video. First of all, TMZ, how are you always there, man?
Yeah. That was like 2 a.m, some pitch black.
Bro, but the camera was like set up outside dude's house. It was like there. It was a very still lovely shot for whoever got it. And the mic was amazing.
Yeah, it was like the neighbor's Ring camera, and
there's always a neighbor's Ring camera apparently.
Yeah.
I mean,
the mic across the street.
I don't even know how they got that, right? And
no, but actually it was all day and night. It was like a stakeout.
Yeah.
They showed him coming out in the morning.
Oh yeah, in the morning he got in his truck and drove off, right? So anyway, so this dude apparently lost his label, and I say apparently, he lost his label. I'm sure he'll land on his feet based on what's happening now. But with that being said, again, that may be a bit extreme personally. Like and again, I'm not here to tell you how to grieve or how to punish or discipline or whatever. I just find a lot of these things very, very, very convenient now because people are quote unquote paying attention. That's all I'm saying. It's very, and to piggyback on that one too. The next one here is your Bachelor viewers. So Dom's a big Bachelor watcher, right?
Not at all.
Really?
Shockingly, so I guess surprisingly, if you know me, Real Housewives. That's the kind of stuff I watch. Bachelor, never.
You didn't watch The Bachelor?
Never.
You?
No.
Thought you'd be doing the rose ceremony at night, having a good old time.
No. Not
It
Bachelor.
is a rose ceremony, right? 'Cause I've never seen the show.
I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
There's a rose. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bachelor, Bachelorette. I'm not down with that.
Okay, so I've never seen the show, but yesterday, I think it was, maybe the day before, Chris Harrison, who is the host, was the host of The Bachelor for...
Was?
Yeah, so he stepped down. In essence,
I feel like that's his own. He's been the Bachelor.
yeah, but it's kind of like Dunkelman. You remember?
American Idol?
Yeah, what's this? Brian Dunkelman? I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw like a "Where Are They Now" kind of thing.
Oh man, that
so
dude.
he's the guy. He was the co-host with Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah.
When American Idol started,
Season 1.
and now Seacrest is worth like hundreds of millions of dollars, and this guy is sadly struggling just to afford rent.
Well, because he wasn't that funny. He wasn't like a comedian. He was a comedian. And that was kind of his claim to fame, if I'm not mistaken. And then he got into it.
I think he
over
was
something
too big for
stupid.
his britches.
Yeah, it was something very
He
trivial.
decided to quit.
And they were like,
quit?
yeah, no, he walked away thinking that
Yeah.
he was going to get his, but the Dunkelman, support staff wasn't really around.
Yeah.
People weren't trying to prop him up.
So what happened with what's the guy's name?
Yeah, so Chris Harrison, right, is the dude. So not apparently, there's a former bachelorette. Her name is Rachel Lindsay, and she was accused of racial insensitivity for being photographed at an antebellum plantation-themed fraternity formal in 2018. So, independent of the fact that apparently Chris had done some QAnon conspiracy reposts and stuff like that, and some Confederate flag-related TikToks, so he had some stuff where he liked them. He didn't do them himself, but he liked some things. Again, I think that's very, trivial. But, so, somebody in 2018, which again, ain't that long ago, thought that it was cool to do an antebellum plantation-themed fraternity
Which
formal.
means prior to the Civil War, like U.S.
Correct.
history. So basically, slaves.
But okay, now here's my issue with this. One is, so this huge thing, he was then interviewed, he being Chris Harrison, by the most recent black bachelorette. I don't know her name because I don't watch the show. And he was excusing Rachel Lindsay's behavior.
Oh, to her.
To her, and that's what caused the uproar. And in essence,
what was he saying?
In essence, he was
Get
excusing
over
it. He was like,
a-
it was a photograph. It was back in the day, and she's like, it's 2018. It wasn't like back in the day, like it was. You know what I'm saying?
1964
Yeah, it was.
or
Yeah,
something, yeah.
it wasn't like it wasn't like she was on the plantation when it happened. And she was like, oh my bad. It happened recently, so that was kind of the situation there. But I mean, first, if you're gonna go, okay, I'm of the belief. Could be wrong. I'm of the belief that the young ladies, including Rachel, who were wearing the get-ups and doing that stuff, whatever, when they're doing that, their association isn't slavery, I would expect, but versus let's wear some funky dresses and hang out with the umbrellas and whatever else and blah, blah, blah. That was all part of the antebellum type situation back then versus, hey, let's go lynch some people. Right? Like, I'm of the belief that this is probably the most benign, like, blackface is a lot different. I think this is very, you're trying to draw any association to anything that happened in the past, I think, and there's some gray area here, one I would assume. Again, that's my personal thing. I don't know her or what she stands for, but I think this is a bit much.
Kind of shocking to me because I feel like often you see the negativity in people.
No. No. Trump, yes. Right? Yeah. Your boy Teddy Cruz, yes. Right? I'm not seeing the negativity, I'm seeing the actual fact of what they're doing. Generally, I give people the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Right? Now, with that being said, I don't give people
Probably
the benefit.
2 dozen girls at that party. I'm gonna guess not all 24 of them are innocent.
No, valid. Again, I'm not, but again,
Especially, I wonder where this college was. Probably in the South.
I'm going to
So they
assume it was
grew
one
up-
of the Carolinas, I'm assuming, and that's a total, by the way, my bad. But this is an assumption based on absolutely nothing, but having seen one of these Carolina shows, much like not Desperate House, much like The Real Housewives. What's the one they shoot down there? Southern Charm. That's the reason I'm making this mental
I've never watched
association.
that. Oh, Georgia. Oh, yeah.
See?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm going.
All
nah.
right. Okay, my bad. All right, so there you go.
Some of them definitely were not.
Oh,
just
again,
innocent.
I don't know these people, so I can't make the general claim, but I would assume that many of them aren't even savvy enough to make the connection, is what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Like, people are going to it so superficially, meaning these dresses are so pretty and blah, 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 versus, hey, the person who wore this back in the day or something like this had slaves and the whole night. Like, they're not making that association and connection I would expect. Right? Either way, he was supporting her to the, and I want to say there's only been a few, if any, black bachelorettes. She may be the only one. Again, never watched the show, so I'm speaking generally here. But I know the current season is a black bachelor. And so he was saying that the reason he's stepping down is because he doesn't want to take away from what's been good with the show and the shine of the show and blah, 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 blah. So he's stepping down for that. But again, so this is the whole cancel culture situation that Don was talking about, where things have kind of gone awry, I guess, to some level. But so he lost his gig. Meanwhile, Stephen Mnuchin is going to be he's back in LA, back in making movies and producing film, and he actually gets a credit as a producer on the upcoming Zack Snyder Justice League movie that comes out in March on HBO Max, because he's a part of Rat Pack Dune Films as a financing. And Rat Pack was created by, one of the owners is Brett Ratner, who was caught up in the Me Too situation.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
About Brett Ratner?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then wasn't he with Venus or Serena?
Yeah, Serena.
Okay. So Steve Mnuchin's back out there, so he's doing well in that situation. And I didn't know this, so this is just interesting to me. There is a streaming service called ALLBLK, ALLBLK, that is under the AMC umbrella, AMC Networks umbrella, not AMC Movie Theaters. I had no idea this thing existed. I mean, not that I'm the target market, but I didn't even know. I mean, I saw nothing about it. I just found out about this, and apparently it's a streaming service that obviously caters to black filmmakers and black production, etc. But never even heard about it.
What's it called?
ALLBLK.
ALLBLK. Oh, have you watched Judas?
I did not see Judas, actually. No, it was on my list. I didn't see it.
Watched it last night.
And
my two things. It was great. I learned even more about Fred Hampton. I'd been learning a lot for the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. It's remarkable how we don't learn about his life. When you believe in what happened to him, what disgustingly happened to him, persecuted by the government and murdered. The trailer for the film has a song by, I believe, someone from South Africa named Afika, that called Chosen. The song is amazing, and it gets you so hype in the trailer, but it's not in the film.
It happens a lot too. It's very annoying. It happens a lot.
Because the song is so hype and the trailer makes it so hype, but they don't pay it in the film.
But is the movie actually good?
It's good. It's just if I were to say the only critique is, and it's not the movie's fault, you can't put that all into 2 hours. You don't learn about how Fred came to his beliefs. He was only 21 years old, which is remarkable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He dedicated his life to this, such a short life, and was murdered at 21. But how he came to that stage of joining the party, Black Panthers, and becoming the chairman in Chicago, like how that all transpired, you don't see that because there's just not enough time.
Wow. Yeah,
It focused a lot. Plus, it focused a lot on Bill O'Neill, who was, and this is not a spoiler alert, who was Judas in a sense, who was the snitch.
Who's Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith Stanfield, who led to Fred Hampton's death. There's a lot of focus on his part and the origin of his story. Hence the name Judas and the Black Messiah.
You know what's interesting? So what's interesting about so the film is on my list to see, and I will see it.
It's on HBO Max for the next probably 25 days, and it's in theaters now.
So everything comes out on HBO Max. Just FYI, you have a 30-day runtime on HBO Max. Then it gets pulled off HBO Max, goes to theaters for exclusively for a period of time, and then goes to VOD, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So by the time it gets back on HBO, you're looking at like a 4-month window, give or take, 3 to 4 months. So just FYI.
One other thing, Daniel Kaluuya, the British actor from Get Out, he plays Fred Hampton, and
he's also in a Black Mirror episode.
Yes, he is.
Yep.
Remember that. And in Black Panther.
Oh yeah, which is actually how he got into this movie. But sorry, continue.
Yes. He studied Fred Hampton. It's interesting because I'm watching the movie, and I'm thinking, wow, that does. And then I went back to listen to Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton had a very unique vernacular, the way he spoke, and Kaluuya nailed it. And it's not, if you didn't know how Fred Hampton actually spoke, you'd think, why is he talking like that? It sounds kind of weird, but he nailed it.
What, you saw video of Fred Hampton?
Yeah, or audio.
Audio, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
And
it,
actually,
it could be video
and
too.
some video.
Yeah,
I saw
sorry.
some video. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was that long.
So yeah, go watch it. It's very good.
Yeah, all right.
You know,
I mean,
it's getting a lot of.
It's been getting a lot of Oscar buzz, etc. But I don't know if it's for him or it's for Lakeith.
They were both good.
Listen,
I think it was overall solid, very solid, and a story that people need to learn about. And it's also understanding, essentially our trust in the government for everything is not always well placed.
Yeah,
our trust in anything, not just the government, just.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I'm curious to see it. I will see it. I haven't seen it yet, but I go into every one of these films, and I mean these films meaning historical films that only recently are getting their nod with hope, but many of them have been subpar because I think it's just that they're trying to fit a lot into a short period of time, which is difficult.
That was
So
rough
I'm
with
curious.
this. You couldn't fit it all. If it was a docu-series of like 10 hours, 8 hours, then you could.
But it won't be ever, right? And the reality is, and we talked about this last time, is actually we talked about this on the Insta situation that we did.
For those of you who don't know, we did an Instagram live.
Yeah.
We'll do a few more. So go to the AIB show on Instagram and check it out.
And it was...
We did a brief episode last week.
It was
a
comedic.
non-podcast episode. So if you're looking for more content, Instagram.com/theAIB show. Check it out.
But yeah, so to speak about that, we were looking at, we're talking about the film, and even in getting it made, it wasn't something that WB, et cetera, was excited about, except not the right word, was chomping at the bit for or ready to give the massive budget to, only because they feel that it wouldn't bring in a lot of money internationally, right? And so to my point earlier of having it done as a lengthy series, et cetera, that 99% of the time won't happen, primarily because the general consensus still is that black films or black topics and black films don't translate. Now, again, if it's black films like Bad Boys, different situation. But if it's black films about black historical figures, they don't translate as much, primarily because people don't know them. And the plight is very local. Yep. Right? It's not something that, hey, somebody in the UK is like, wow, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the thing that, just to say real quick, I was on a Clubhouse having this discussion, telling people that the plight of black Americans is vastly different and relatively unknown to the full context versus anyone else in the black diaspora around the world. So anyone outside of Africa who's black, their experience in their countries, by and large, that experience is unlike, not remotely close to the black American experience. From slavery down through Jim Crow, down through the civil rights era, down through mass incarceration, down to all the BS we still have going on now.
And so and this is a not a random tangent, but this brings me to Marcus Garvey.
Yeah.
So there's a podcast.
Throughline. We always talk about
which
it.
Which is amazing. NPR.
Listen to the AIB show, then listen to the AIB show again, then tell your friends about the AIB show and your family, then tweet about it, then listen again, and then listen to Throughline, because Throughline is great.
Throughline is a historical podcast at NPR, but it is just amazing in the subjects it covers. The most recent one it was talking about was Marcus Garvey. So growing up in Jamaica, Marcus Garvey is a national hero.
Yeah, we had no idea. I had no idea that he had any American relevance.
Neither did I. I got here and somebody brought up Marcus Garvey, and I was like, "How do you know
about Marcus Garvey?
That's my dude.
We have 7 national heroes. He's one of them.
Yeah, and I had no idea that he had any, because the way that history was taught to us in Jamaica was very localized in regards to Marcus Garvey and his plight. Had nothing to do with what he did in New York, in the U.S. Yeah. Right, and what he was trying to accomplish. And it is crazy. But to speak to Dom's earlier point about the black experience, and again, not a black man, I'm just talking about what I've learned from these situations, is where you come from determines. So there was this huge push back in the day of what's the word for when they're going, like people say, hey, go back to where you came from, go back to Africa. There was this Marcus Garvey was actually for that. He was trying to get people to go back to Africa, to Liberia, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. To in essence reclaim their land and kind of be prosperous outside of this.
Pan-Africanism. And
there you go, right? But people in Jamaica viewed people in Africa differently as black people, and people in the U.S., the same concept. I think everybody, because everybody's history is so different, and it's people in general, right? There's white people all over the world, people different as well. It's the same concept.
Black people aren't a monolith.
Correct.
The universal experience is the degradation and, horror that is slavery. Right?
But the reason...
And racism outside, independent of slavery. That's the universal context. And skin color. That's really the two things that join it. But there's so many differences.
But the reason I was bringing up Marcus Garvey as well, independent of the Jamaica tie-in, his situation is similar to Fred Hampton's in the relation that there was this Judas in his game as well, where there was a guy, I'm forgetting his name, apologies, who was a part of the NAACP. Back then, the NAACP was
similar,
white run. But he was I forget the gentleman's name, but he was the one who was speaking out against Garvey, always saying that Garvey was...
Was he white or black?
He was a black guy.
Oh, W.E.B. Du Bois.
There you go.
Yes.
Right? But he was part of the NAACP, which was a lot of white people were associated with it. It was affluent white people doing the situation. He was their voice. He went against Garvey and across the whole thing because Garvey was very pro-black across the board. And Garvey, and it was interesting to point out that growing up in Jamaica, and the way it was referenced by the historian is that it's a very, and there's a term for this, I'm forgetting this, but your station in society is driven by the complexion of your skin. Mm-hmm. So the darker you are, the lower down you are by way of opportunity, by way of expectation, so on and so forth.
There's a system of colorism there.
Colorism, okay. And Garvey is
dark.
It's a dark man. So, but this guy spoke out against Garvey. Literally, whatever Garvey was for, he was against it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's not true the Judas thing, like he wasn't befriending him and then cutting, whatever, but it's interesting to me that there's always this situation where you have the not always, but
it's in politics, it's in life. You have the pushback and
but it's always, but not always, but there are black people going up on one side, there is another element which is being
used to pull them down.
Yes, where it's like
real quick, what he was trying to do was Liberia was founded actually by, I think, white people.
It was.
As a means to bring Black Americans to Africa and give them land. It failed for whatever reason, not sure why. I don't think it got support, maybe.
No, it didn't, but they also created their own government, and Africa wasn't happy with that too. They're like, well, you guys can't just come here because there's a bunch of land and stuff like that, and they figured that they would just, in essence, send everybody back.
So then Marcus Garvey, years or decades later, tried the same thing, with a thing called Black Star Line, and was raising money to buy ships.
Correct.
To convince people to go back.
Correct. Now, when he bought the ships, he created a publicly traded company. People could invest in, black people could invest in the Black Star Line. So in essence, investing in their future. Yeah. Because you're investing money in here, and then you can get on the ship and go to Africa.
He made a bad strategic alliance. He thought, not partner with the Ku Klux Klan, but he wanted his associates to be able to recruit in the South and not be lynched and killed. So he met with the Ku Klux Klan and said, listen, what we're doing benefits your belief.
Yeah,
we're trying to convince everyone here to get out of the South and leave America. You'll be happy. Leave us alone while we do this. Understandably, many Black Americans looked at that as a betrayal. No matter what the purpose was, you're partnering with the most terroristic organization possible that is out there killing us. So he was a remarkable man, Jamaican national hero, revered ever so by Black America as well.
Yeah, so dude literally self-made. Like came to New York, went to the UK. He was eventually deported back to Jamaica.
Yes. He was prosecuted for mail fraud.
Which, because what was it again? I forgot the specifics surrounding that. It wasn't like he was
saying invest in this.
Oh yeah, it was because of Black Star Line.
Orator also. I mean, the way he spoke was just loquacious, and he actually worked on it because he was not ashamed, just not so confident in the stature and the economy where he grew up, and he practiced the way he spoke. Yeah.
I mean, he would literally wear military garb as well. Yes. Like he was all about putting on a good show. Not a show, putting on a convincing narrative so that obviously you could garner support. Interesting listen, go check it out. But that wraps up our episode on
Facebook,
sports and entertainment.
Check us out, Facebook, Instagram. We may do some YouTube soon. We'll let you know.
Yep.
IG Live. Engage with us. Share our posts. Engage with our posts. Let us know what you like, don't like.
all that
Spread the
stuff.
word.
And also these things you may get a little dual medium situation here where you go podcast and you probably see some videos of the stuff popping up on the AIB show, Insta, and other places as well. So thanks for the time.
Justice over order always.
Be better.
Like his shirt says, he's kind of short, you can't see it. Saying be better.
And he's saying that because we're recording this, obviously. It's a
Oh,
audio
yes.
medium.
Oh, yeah,
dumbass.
yeah. There's a video.
We'll talk soon, everybody. Have a good one.